journeys along the way. So it's interesting, and it can definitely cause people to be haunted throughout their life when they realize they may have potentially thrown away their culture or given things up. So it's an interesting theme that kind of undercurrent. There's kind of like an undercurrent inside this movie. From a structure standpoint, it's very, very balanced. In the first act, we see, Rial and Bowl are released, and they're, hopefully trying to be able to find a home. In the second act, Bowl tries to fit in, but he's haunted by images of his past. In the midpoint of the second act, Bowl is determined to fight for his home. And then finally, in the third act, Bowl has to confront his truth. Now, this story was written by Remy Weeks and Felicity Evans. I think Felicity was responsible for the story, but Remy was the one who kind of put together the screenplay, and it was directed by Remy Weeks. Now, he's done a few small things along the way, but this is another director who really kind of exploded on a major film. Very, very crafty editing. He does a great job of telling you a story, but not the whole story. He shows you bits and pieces and flashbacks, and your mind essentially creates its own narrative as you're watching it. You want to believe what you see, but you're not quite sure. It's not conclusive. It's not until Weeks shows you everything that you get a full understanding of the story that's being told. It's fantastic the way he unfolded this narrative visually and not necessarily heavy with a lot of dialogue. This is the kind of movie where you don't even really need anybody to say anything. You could watch this movie with the sound down and know exactly what's happening. The African costumes and the masks, when they're twisted, man, they can be quite terrifying. The close-up on certain body parts, zooming in on eyes, a character's hands, the jewelry, everything has a place and a reason for its position. The sounds and the symbolic imagery are spectacular as visual components, which really, really enhance the story and kind of keep you on edge. The performances, beyond believable. You feel their pain, you feel their joy, you feel their terror. Shot to shot, the transitions are impeccable as the story really definitely moves between reality and dream states. What worked? Man, everything worked in this movie, okay? I thought it was just fantastic. And I think what's really cool right now is how, I won't say Hollywood, but it's nice to see Netflix, Amazon Prime, other major corporations producing what I like to call cultural horror. It's kind of cool. I'm waiting for a horror story with Native Americans. I mean, my gosh, we already saw one when it comes to when it comes to like the Asian culture with like Korea and The Wailing. Oh, still have nightmares about that movie. But I mean, I'm curious. Aren't you curious? Doesn't every culture have like a boogeyman? It'd be kind of neat to see what those what those images would conjure up and the historical cultural tales behind those boogeymen. What didn't work? Nothing. To me, I wish the movie was longer. I wish we could have gotten another 15, 20 minutes out of the movie. But hey, I guess they felt the timestamp they had on it, which is roughly about an hour and a half to 45 minutes, was absolutely perfect. Now, it's rated TV mature, MA, because I think some of the imagery is a little bit violent. And it does have some very interestingly scary moments. And when it comes to the Aristotle Index of unconvincing possibilities, there are none. The entire story is emblematic of a greater narrative and theme, making all things possible to convey the lesson and the moral behind this story. Now, here's where it gets kind of interesting. IMDb only gave it a relatively average 6.4, but Rotten Tomatoes gave it a perfect score. Absolutely 100. And the audience score was about a 76. So I don't know what to make of that. It's kind of like the technical people thought it was, it's okay. The critics were like, oh my goodness, this movie's fantastic. And then the audience is kind of like, it's not bad, I guess from a horror standpoint, I guess the audience is probably looking for something that was a little bit more grotesque. I mean, we've kind of gotten desensitized over the years, horror porn, I guess you could say that they call it. But I don't know why I only got a 76. I thought it could have got a much higher score, but that's just me. When it comes to the cinema and cocktails rating, man, I gave this movie a perfect score, 5 out of 5. This is one of the best movies of the year. The story pulls the levers on multiple emotions, leaving you exhausted by the end of the movie. In some ways, it's haunting. In other ways, it's justifiably terrifying. There's never a moment where you're not watching everything on the screen, in the foreground, in the background, in the corners of the screen. The moments of isolation in the dark give you so much unease, and the sounds that accompany them will that'll have you literally sitting on one ass cheek every time it gets dark in that movie. You will love it. It is one heck of a ride. So this one was easy. This, very simple. All I read was the synopsis, and I automatically thought to myself, okay, African cocktail, right? African movie, African cocktail. So I was looking for one that was going to be kind of I was looking for a drink that had like a happiness to it, a joy to it. And, after kind of scrolling through a few couple of pages, I came across one which I really, really liked. And that one is entitled a dawa. Now, what exactly is a dawa? Well, you need a couple of ingredients, but not too many. It's not that difficult really to make. Okay. So this one is one that you can definitely kind of have fun with, before the movie gets started. So you're going to need either, 1 tablespoon of regular sugar or brown sugar. You're going to need about 2, full ounces of vodka. You're going to need, some ice. You're going to need a whole lime. And you're going to need a dawa stick or a straw, all right, to make it. So now the first thing you want to do, now this has got a little bit of mixology into it, but not too much. I think most of you by now, episode 13, you've made about 25 drinks. You should be pretty comfortable, behind the counter, in your kitchen making a drink now. So what you want to do is you want to put the lime and the whiskey into a glass, all right, and then take the lime and slice it up and crush it slightly, just enough to get the juice to start coming out. You want to add the ice, and then you want to pour in the vodka. Now, at this point, you want to use your dawa stick. Now, most of us, unless you are into African culture or you are from Africa or your family members from Africa, I don't think most of us have a dawa stick lying around. So you can use a straw or a knife. And just for edification purposes, a dawa stick is it's kind of like a wooden stick, kind of almost looks like a muddler, like something that you kind of muddle drinks with, but it's like a long, kind of skinny, brown piece of wood. So anyway, what you do is you take that and you dip the dawa stick into some honey. That sounds good, doesn't it? You dip it in with some honey, and then you take the honey and you dip it into the drink and you start to stir it. Now, at this point, the honey will begin to dissolve into the drink. Okay. And as you're stirring it, you want to kind of muddle, which kind of means squish or smash up the limes a little bit to give it a little bit more lime flavor to go along with the vodka and the brown sugar. Man, it tastes good. Now, dawa actually translates to medicine in Swahili. And when you try this beverage for yourself, you will instantly feel better, just like the way his house ends for you. It makes you feel just a little bit better as the resolution of the film comes to a close. Episode 13 is done and 14 is coming up soon. Thanks for listening, and make sure that you click the check button or the thumbs up or the like button or click the heart or whatever it is on the platform that you use to listen to the show. Whatever's going to give the old algorithm a bump, I would sincerely appreciate it. I'm doing the best I can to give you some good content because I'm trying to bring in some more listeners. That's going to benefit everybody. Otherwise, it's just going to be me and you, which really isn't a bad thing, right? Well, me, you, movies, drinks. I think I can do that. Can you do that? I can do that. Yeah. Let's just, let's just focus on that. Me, you, movies, and drinks. And then the rest will take care of itself. As always, be safe, drink responsibly, and have a great weekend. And I'll see you in 7 days.